All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Bisher here. G'day, g'day, g'day. A lot less people than what I was expecting, probably for the best because I've lost my voice over the last 24 hours. So let's get stuck into it as best as I can. I do apologize. I've been spending non-stop just talking to people. It's so good to actually connect with people in person because oftentimes I'm just limited to being on the phones. So let's get stuck into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bitcoin, the future of money, why we're all here and why this industry can even exist. We're going to go through a few items, why Bitcoin matters, how it works, and how to protect your wealth with it. Really simple stuff, nothing complicated. So let's break down. People always come to me and my firm at Stormrake and say, Bisher, what is Bitcoin? Why am I buying it? Why am I investing in it? What's the point? Simply put, Bitcoin is money. We've had many different forms of money over the years, but this is what it is. Bitcoin is money, the latest and the greatest form of it that we currently have. It's scarce, it's durable, it's portable, it's divisible to the 8th decimal place, it's verifiable on-chain, and it's accepted globally. I'll give you guys a very, very quick story. I was in Thailand. One of the big 4 banks decided to say, I don't want your customer anymore. They said, Bisher, you're done. They closed my bank account down. I couldn't be able to spend my Aussie dollars abroad. But what Bitcoin did for me is stepped in a really big way. I was able to convert Bitcoin for Thai baht at a better exchange rate or a tighter spread than I would be able to convert my Aussie dollars into Thai baht. Show of hands for people here who's been to Thailand, right? 0.03 of a Bitcoin got me 90,000 Thai baht. Most of you have been here. How much does 90,000 Thai baht get you over there? A lot. So for me, Bitcoin is the greatest form of money because it's widely accepted and all these other things I just discussed. So why do we need a new form of money? Why do we encourage our investors to get into this new form of money? It's quite simple. The fiat system is broken. The purchasing power of a dollar from 1913, when the Federal Reserve was first created, to today has less than 1 cent of the equivalent purchasing power. So that's why you don't want to be holding US dollars, Aussie dollars, euros. Your purchasing power is constantly getting eroded away. But what people don't realize is because they're constantly looking at their bank account on a nominal basis. So let's say all of you work really hard and you've got $100,000 in savings in your local bank account. You log in every day and you see $100,000 and you think that everything's okay. But what really is going on behind the scenes is that $100,000 isn't what it used to be anymore. Since the year 2007 and up until now, 3 out of every 4 Aussie dollars has been created in the last 22 years. That's why the purchasing power is going away. It's not the bad Coles, it's not bad Woolies, it's not the greedy farmers. We love our farmers, we should be supporting them. They're not the ones taking advantage of the situation. They're dealing with a cost of living crisis and their purchasing power being eroded. Skip this step. The fiat system's broken. Rising debt, ladies and gentlemen. Australia is over $1 trillion in national debt. America is over $38 trillion in debt. Unlimited money printing. They are never going to stop printing currency. The reason why they need to keep printing currency, ladies and gentlemen, is they cannot make their governments bankrupt. If they allowed the interest rates to increase, if they stopped printing currency and stopped buying government bonds, Australian government would collapse. The US government would collapse. Nobody wants that. I'm not voting on it. I don't encourage it or support it, but this is the system that we're in. And the hidden tax of inflation. It is actually what they can't take you from you in taxation, they will take from you in inflation. So that's why you got to buy some Bitcoin. So what is it? Decentralized digital currency created in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Could be an individual, could be a group. People speculate, FBI, CIA, NSA. I'm not here for all that. I'm here to explain to you what it is and how it works. It's an open and permissionless network. You've got, on one side, you've got the government, which chooses inflation and surveillance and control and taxation. And then on the other side, you got scarcity, freedom of how you wish to choose to transact, who to transact with, when to transact. All of that is on your end. I'm going to give you guys what is known as the Stormrake Challenge. I want every single one of you to go to your local bank account or bank branch and attempt to withdraw $10,000 in cash. And let me know how that goes. If you can't withdraw that cash, it's not yours. And the moment that you deposit Aussie dollars into a bank account, you are what is known as an unsecured creditor, ladies and gentlemen. It's part of your homework today is to find out what that means. So, you've got Bitcoin the asset, you've got Bitcoin the currency, and then you've got Bitcoin the network. A lot of people conflate similar things together. What I mean by that is Bitcoin isn't just an asset that you can buy and sell. There's a price that it's trading for. It's around 85,000 now. At one point it was 126,000. At one point it was $1,000. But that's Bitcoin, the asset. It has an open market price which trades like every other commodity or equity or stock on this planet. It trades openly 24/7. But the network is what we talk about when we're talking about decentralization, being open, being permissionless, right? So there's two different things. There's BTC, the currency, which is what you're trading with Stormrake and other exchanges. And then there's Bitcoin, the network. Two separate things. Part of your homework today is to delineate and make a difference. Commit to me today that you're going to learn the difference between Bitcoin, the currency, and Bitcoin, the network. Super important. 21 million coins forever, no inflation, no central bank. Get yourself one today. The currency aspect of it as a means of exchange, so you don't just have to convert Bitcoin for local fiat currency, such as Thai baht in my case, or Aussie dollars if you wish to spend it. Bitcoin can be used wherever it is accepted. So do you guys, show of hands, who's familiar with the company called Block or Issue Square, right? That you might have actually tapped and goed and used the Square once yourselves, right? They are now enabling Bitcoin payments on chain. So you will tap your credit card, and if the merchant accepts Bitcoin, they will receive it in Bitcoin. They don't have to go through Aussie dollars or go through the banks. There's a nice little pub. I'm from Melbourne. I know I escaped. I get it. But I'm from Melbourne. There's a pub there, one of Melbourne's oldest pubs. It's called the Fox Hotel, and they accept Bitcoin. So every Friday, I take myself, my brokers, and my traders. We go down for a Palmer and a schooner, and we pay for it in Bitcoin. Really simple. I don't have to convert it into Aussie dollars. They have a little point of sale terminal similar to what you would if you were tapping your card for Aussie dollars. I pay in Bitcoin, job's done. Why this is so unique, why I get so passionate about this, ladies and gentlemen, it's decentralized and immutable. No one can take your Bitcoin from you, especially if it's in cold storage. Once a transaction has been spent, it can't be recalled. So that's part of the responsibility of becoming your own bank, making sure you're transacting safely. No CEO, no shutdown. Bitcoin has never been hacked, and this is why I position a majority of my wealth in Bitcoin. The longer Bitcoin survives, the stronger it becomes. Not just from a price perspective. The price is one thing. The network becomes more decentralized. There's awesome guys here that has Bitcoin mining rigs. There's people here that can help you set up a Bitcoin node. You can all Google Bitcoin OS and download it for yourself. You can download the Bitcoin operating software simply, easily from any device, and you too can become a part of the network. So the longer it exists, the more distributed it becomes, the less likely it is to fail. Use Bitcoin to pay, spend, or convert. So a lot of the questions that I get is, great, Bisher, I've just invested a boatload of cash with you and I've bought Bitcoin as you've encouraged me to do so. What do I do with it now? You can treat it as an asset like you would your real estate or your stock market portfolio. Buy and hold. There is a big, strong hodl mentality here, but that's fine too. You can also use it to be spent wherever it can be accepted. You can convert it into local fiat currency. And more recently, there's some really great lenders here, some of us just across the stage here, where you can borrow against your Bitcoin, never having to sell it, and then you can spend the Aussie dollars, right? Kind of like drawing on the equity of your home. In-kind payments for goods and services. You can have the ability to sell your fiat for Bitcoin or sell your Bitcoin for fiat through ourselves. And then you can just do it on, who here runs a business? Who here runs a business? Beautiful. You guys should all integrate Bitcoin in your business as either a payment option or as a treasury option. But if you're going to raise an invoice for your client, say you run a marketing agency, give your client the option. Would you like to pay me in Aussie dollars or would you like to pay me in Bitcoin? Give them the choice. They don't have to choose Bitcoin. But if they do choose, you are actually being a Bitcoiner. This is what I encourage you to do. So, how are we going to bring this to a close? Because I want to let you guys ask me some questions. The fiat endgame, unsustainable debt. The governments cannot stop printing, ladies and gentlemen. Global debt is at $300 trillion and it will continue to rise. So you need to get out of the debt system as quickly as you possibly can. You can use debt to your advantage, that's not a problem, but you have to get out of the debt system. Who here has an industry super fund? Should be almost all of you should have an industry super fund. Excellent. Most of your industry super fund is positioned in a couple of products. Equities, number one, and number two, bonds. A government bond, which is essentially a promise by the government today to pay you 3, 4, 5% for over a 20, 30-year period, but they're paying you back in Aussie dollars that they're printing out of thin air. So you're losing purchasing power and you're losing on the bonds. I'm just going to skip ahead because I want to ask you guys some questions. Bitcoin as retirement insurance. You guys don't need to go all in, right? I'm all in. I'm already fully invested, but I've developed this conviction in Bitcoin over 10 years, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not asking you to go all in because you saw some guy on the stage get really excited about it. I'm saying use a little bit. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% of your portfolio should be in Bitcoin. Start small, have a little dabble, make sure it's for you, understand the volatility, because the volatility isn't going anywhere. The volatility is a feature, but have a little bit of exposure in your portfolio, make it long term. I'm going to skip ahead. There are a couple of ways you can custody as well. You can custody with us if you wish, but especially for people who are getting started. They go, I just need to learn about Bitcoin. I need to self-custody. I need to set up a Bitcoin mining rig. I need to set up a Bitcoin node. You're doing too much. You should do all those things. I'm not discouraging you, but I'm just saying take it one step at a time. Get your exposure. You can manage custody with us. And then when you're ready, you can go towards self-custody. So cold storage, ladies and gentlemen. This is a common thing that I get. Bisher, I've bought the Bitcoin from you. What happens? Well, if it's held with us, it's held in cold storage. But if you choose to set up your own cold storage as well, ladies and gentlemen, don't ask me what cold storage device should I be buying. It's really irrelevant and inconsequential. Ledger's great, Trezor's good, Tangent is fine, Cold Card is great. What matters is how you generate and store your private keys. That's what's more important. If you buy the top of the line cold storage device and you put your seed phrase on an Excel spreadsheet, on your Dropbox folder, you're going to have a hard time keeping that Bitcoin safe. So keep it offline, keep it safe and secure. A couple of different things we need to just understand about Bitcoin and some of the terminology you guys might have heard. Hot wallets versus cold wallets. Hot wallets are just online. I've got a Bitcoin hot wallet on my smartphone. It's connected. It's always connected to either Wi-Fi or data. That's what a hot wallet is. It makes it really easy to spend and transact. So when I'm at the pub and I'm buying a chicken parma and some schooners, I'm not busting out my cold storage and tapping away at it. I'm just literally using my app as I would any other bank application or any other tap and go feature. But cold wallets are offline. It keeps your private keys safe and secure. So if you go full Bitcoin and you've got most of your wealth in Bitcoin, keep 90% of it, 95% of it in cold storage, and then keep some liquid in a hot wallet so you can spend, convert, and do whatever you need with it and have it as a part of your day-to-day life. I'm going to skip ahead. And white glove brokerage, collaborative vaults, and concierge service. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you guys some questions. Who wants to ask me a question? Any questions? No questions means I get off the stage.
Can I ask?
Yeah, you speak into the thing.
Oh, here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I can't hear me. But yeah, you mentioned the Bitcoin is. So, for instance, if I have $100, if I had $100 like 5 years ago, and today this $100 doesn't worth $100 anymore because of the inflation and all this stuff. How does the Bitcoin value or whatever I have now will be guaranteed that in 5 or 10 years will not be swallowed by the inflation? I didn't get this part.
It's a great question, my friend. So there's no guarantee on what the future value will be, but there is only 21 million Bitcoin. When you compare a limited supply asset, whether that be prime Sydney real estate, whether that be gold, whether that be silver, or now more recently Bitcoin, the reason why it protects your wealth is that the assets that you hold appreciate faster than the inflation or the expansion of the money supply. So let's say the broad money supply increases by 10%. If your asset goes up in value by 20%, then great. You've preserved your purchasing power and increased your wealth a little bit as well. But if your broad money supply goes up by 10% and your asset goes up by 10%, you're flat. And if the broad money supply goes up by 10% and your assets that you hold go down, then you've lost purchasing power in asset and nominal terms. So you need to position yourself in scarce assets, digital and physical, to preserve your purchasing power.
So one more question.
Sure.
So I can consider, due to the whole Bitcoin graph and everything is happening in the world and everybody's getting to buy Bitcoin because we are near the 21 million. So I can pretty much consider that this is not going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but it's not likely.
We went from $126,000 to $80,000 over the last few weeks. The value of the asset goes up and down based off macro movements, interest rates, currency debasement, liquidations. There's all kinds of things that drive the short-term price of Bitcoin, but we're talking about long-term value accrual here. This is an asset that's gone from $1 to $126,000, now $85,000. We're talking about Sydney real estate. We're talking about gold. We're talking about silver. People have been calling top on the Australian real estate market for 50 years. The reason why there is no top in the Australian real estate market, why there's never going to be this Armageddon Australian real estate crash, is they're going to continuously print currency and have very accommodative policies in order to support asset prices and support the debt. So for me, I'm just positioning my portfolio to benefit from the currency debasement and the issuance of new Aussie dollars. That's what I'm doing. More questions, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a couple more minutes. Just behind you.
Hello. Okay. Been learning a lot about the macroeconomics and how that influences Bitcoin. What would be the key ones for 2026 that you see, like people like us that aren't really, haven't studied finance, etc., should look out for or should keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, everybody should understand what's happening. Even if you're not investing in Bitcoin, you got to have an understanding of interest rates, because interest rates is what sets the value of your money. It's also is the basis for discounted cash flow analysis. It's how we actually value things. So if you're going to be learning more about macro, which is great, spend time looking at central banks, understand the history of central banks, look at the things like government bond yields, look at things like inflation rates. That's a really great place to start understanding how the value of everything works, because really Bitcoin is just downstream from what happens in central banks and what happens with government bonds and the issuance and creation of debt. So if you are to scratch that rabbit hole, I'd say focus on understanding how debt is issued and created, and then that will kind of take you down the Bitcoin rabbit hole as well.
One more. We've got a couple of young fellas here.
Yep.
Who are just starting out. Any advice for them on how they should start to slowly invest in Bitcoin?
Well, work hard, first and foremost. So whether you're a sparky, a plumber, you're a lawyer, an accountant, whatever it is that you do in your day-to-day profession that earns you an income, work hard and then learn how to save in Bitcoin. And that's really what it comes down to. So don't quit your day job is my advice. We don't need more Bitcoin day traders. We still need sparkies. We'll still need people on the tools. We'll still need people working professional jobs. Work hard, produce income, preferably doing something that you love, and then buy some Bitcoin.
Beauty.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? No? All right. Guys, thank you so much for your time. It was great being here. Have a great evening, and I'll see you around.